everybody. As we jump into our course and we're taking a look at our weekly activities, one thing you'll find is every week we'll enter into a scholarly discussion. Uh, what I'd like to do, provide for you, is a quick over guide on what is this discussion and how will you be graded on it. So what are the expectations? How will it be assessed? And by the way, I'll try to do this for many of the tasks that we'll tackle this term, is to give you some guidance on some of the specifics. So let's take a look at the discussion. And I would highly recommend you do this if you haven't already. Is in your course shell, you'll find your course documents. There are a number of course documents. I highly recommend that you go ahead and you take a look at all of those course documents. Tonight, what we'll take a look at is, let's take a look at the DQ grading policy. Right. When you open that up, of course, what you're going to find is a Word document that specifies all the expectations for you in the weekly discussion. What I'd like to do tonight is let's break that apart, take a look at each one of those elements of the discussion and how you'll be assessed. It sets the expectations that we have for the discussion, and you know how to engage each week. So let's jump into this. When you take a look at your guide, your DQ grading policy, you're going to find a table that is essentially is our grading rubric. It is, I suggest, somewhat high level. As an example, if you'll take a look on your screen at the grading rubric, you're going to see that you'll be graded on specific criteria that is set for the discussion questions. Let's jump in and take a look at what that criteria is. Okay, the parts, what you'll find in your DQ grading policy, there are 4 elements that we're taking a look at. You'll see them listed as direct, well-supported, professionally communicated, and timely. Well, let's take a brief look at what are each one of those. Direct, when you read it, the core, the meat of being direct is knowledge of the material. What you'll want to show every week in both your answer and your responsive post is your clear knowledge of the material. That's fairly easy to do, I would suggest, by referencing, quoting, giving examples of theories, concepts, notions that we've studied. So basically, show what you know. That's going to be the core of your discussion. Well supported. When you read the criteria, well supported, basically what you're going to find is your discussion post, your responsive post have to be you have to engage in critical thinking. Well, what is critical thinking? It's basically moving beyond opinion. It's taking a look at the material, questioning your own thoughts, your own knowledge, your own thinking about these new topics. It's creating a new way, developing a new knowledge of the topic. All right, so we're not looking so much for opinions, if you will. We're looking in a professional document like your discussion post, a well-reasoned, a critical thinking about the topic. All right. Another is professionally communicated. You'll find this in all professional communications. You'll want to express your ideas logically and well written, by the way. So in your discussion post each week, I'm looking for logic. Here again, let's just touch on opinion. You really don't want to base an argument, certainly in academia, but in a professional environment, based on pure opinion. You'll need to support your ideas. That's commonly supported, executed, accomplished through a logic argument. So if you make a statement, you'll want to support it with logic. The 4th element you're going to find in the DQ grading policy is timely. Well, what does that mean? You'll find in your weekly discussion posts that you need to make a minimum of 3 posts a week. One is everyone has to answer the question. And then, of course, then you'll want to post at least 2 times to the initial post of colleagues, of classmates, of others. So you'll find that you're in the discussion 3 times a week on a minimum. You'll want to get your discussion answer in by at least Wednesday. And then, of course, you need to post to your colleagues at least by Sunday night. I heavily, strongly recommend you get into the discussion as early as possible. Put your answer out there. Then it gives your colleagues an opportunity to read your post and respond. All right. The point allocation that we have for each one of these elements. You know, each week you'll be assigned a letter grade, honors, high pass. But here's how we break down the points. I break down the points. I give 45% of all the points available for that week just to your answer. I give another 45% of all the points for that week to your replies, how you are in discussion with others. And then, of course, I reserve 10% of all the points for your discussion question to how timely are you in the discussion on time. Let's take a look at how those are broken. If you take a look at the point allocation for these parts, if you'll take a look at the answer as an example, you'll see, well, 45% of all your points go to just your answer. Go back to the criteria. What am I looking for? Direct, well-supported, and professionally communicated. Same way with your replies. 45% of all the points are going to go to your replies to your colleagues. What am I looking for in your discussion, scholarly discussion with your colleagues? How direct, how your depth of knowledge of the topic, how well supported, your critical thinking, and how professionally communicated it is, your logic argument in those posts. And again, I give 10% of all the points to, are you in the discussion on time? All right, example for you. I've taken it. I do everything on a spreadsheet. So, of course, when I read and grade your discussion post every week, I take a look at your answer, your replies, and how timely. I break it into those specific criteria we just discussed: knowledge, critical thinking, your logic argument. And I have assigned a certain percentage of those total points to each one of those elements. I simply grade it on the old traditional scale of A through F. Where are you in, as an example, in your demonstration of clear knowledge of the topic in your answer? And I'll grade that element, that criteria. Critical thinking is the next. I'll take a look at how the level of your critical thinking in your answer. And of course, I assign it a grade. You'll see through a simple mathematical formula, it comes up with your grade. And that's how each week I'll read and assess your discussion post and your discussion with your colleagues. So there you go. I hope that this guide has helped a bit. If you have any questions whatsoever, give me a call, drop me a note. I'll be glad to help. All right. I'll see you online.